Welcome back. Episode 34 of the Gridiron Game Podcast. What we got today is a Week 17 recap and a wrap-up of the regular season where we make our Week 18 picks. Before we get to that, we have to touch on last night's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Buffalo Bills, where Damar Hamlin, defender for the Buffalo Bills, makes a routine tackle, gets up, stumbles, falls to the ground, and we got word today that he suffered cardiac arrest and he was at the hospital. Last I heard, he had a tube down his mouth, helping him to breathe. And all I really have to say about that is we wish him the best. Prayers and thoughts go out to Damar and his family. Definitely a scary situation. Definitely a scary sight to see last night. We've seen a couple of those this year, both on Cincinnati's field, actually, with Tua getting that concussion as well. So, like I said, man, we wish this guy the best. Hope he recovers fast. Football is really not an option right now or a thought in my opinion. We just want this guy healthy, back on his feet.
Yeah, for me, it goes to show like it's much more than just a game. Like we got, real people out here sacrificing themselves to play a game they love, but it also comes with a lot of risk, no matter which way you look at it. And whether, you don't like a certain team or not, or you hate a team, at the end of the day, as much as I hate the Packers, I don't want anybody on their team to suffer something like that or go down with a broken bone or anything. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, I want it always, the best on best and always keeping it clean and no one getting injured. But I know in a game of football, you never go a whole season with someone not getting injured. Like, it just doesn't happen. But when it comes to something like this, cardiac arrest, like, I don't know, like I don't know what to say about it. It's just a very scary situation. I mean, you look back when Shazier, went down with his injury and Tua got hurt. What was it, last year, I think?
This year.
No, it was earlier this year.
Yeah.
It's just a scary sight, man. You don't want to see anything like that happen. And it just, prayers go out to him and his family and wish him nothing but the best. And I really do hope he recovers and is able to live his life, whether that means playing football or not, just enjoying his life to the fullest and just getting back on his 2 feet.
No question. We mentioned the game stopped at 7-3. There was no mention of when it would be rescheduled, and I know you and I have talked. That's really not a concern for us. We did see some people, social media and whatnot, who had different concerns and were wondering when the game would be played again. But like you said, man, we just wish this guy the best. That's a scary situation to be in. You told me a stat before this. A high amount of people do not come out of this situation successfully. So we're definitely wishing for the opposite for Damar Hamlin. So that's all I got in this situation right here. Moving on to Week 17, we had Thursday Night Football. Dallas at Tennessee. There was no Tannehill. There was no rookie quarterback Malik Willis. And there was probably, 10 or so other key guys that were out for the Titans. Josh Dobbs got the start, and he was pretty much thrown into the fire in a pretty bad situation. Not a must-win for Tennessee, but it definitely would have helped. We know the identity of this team is to run the ball. We know when they run the ball, they give it to Derrick Henry. There was no Derrick Henry in this game. It was all on Josh Dobbs to do everything for this Tennessee offense in a week and a half of preparation or so. So not expecting a lot from this Tennessee offense. We didn't get a lot, 13 points total. Dallas got out of here with the win, 27-13. But in my opinion, I think they played down to their competition in this one a little bit. Since Dak has returned from his injury, this team leads the league in points per game. But Dak also leads the league in interceptions. That's not a good combination to have. You can score a little bit less if you're going to take care of the ball. You really have to cut down on those turnovers. That's not a key to success. Tony Pollard and Zeke have really been playing well as of late. You found a good connection with CD, but you're giving the other team the ball too many times. With this one, though, Tennessee falls to 7-9, losers of 6 in a row. And after being 7-3 and looking like they were in the sure lead in the AFC South, they have now squandered away that position to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they have a big game, Week 18, against that team to see if they can try and salvage their season. What'd you think of this game,
though? This was a kind of a letdown of a game, mainly for the Cowboys, even though they won by 2 scores. I just think the Cowboys are a team, much like the Vikings, in a sense where they will play down to their competition a lot of times. And it's It's very disappointing to see. I think Dak and Kirk have a lot in common, especially when the lights come on. I will say CD's had a very impressive season this year, though. I think he's taken a much big step this year that he needed to make.
My expectations.
And yes, and I think, and even, T.Y. Hilton, I didn't know what to expect with him signing this late in the season. But, I mean, even 4 catches, 50 yards, that's 12.5 average per catch. Like, he's a nice little piece for this receiving core, I guess. But he's not going to be a game breaker, I don't think, down the line. I mean, he will
credit
contribute
to him more, though, because that's what Deshaun Jackson should be doing with us.
Yeah.
4 for 60, 4 for 70.
Yeah, and that's what you like to see, especially a guy his age and, like, the career he's had. I mean, he's gonna come in and contribute. You just don't expect him to be that number 1, number 2 guy. He's gonna just contribute where he needs to. Probably those key downs or tougher yardage situations that he's a guy you can rely on and look to. But for me, it was like I don't have much to say about the Tennessee Titans. I really don't. I don't think that. I expect the Jaguars to beat them, especially with where Tennessee's at in this season, having Joshua Dobbs as their starter. I don't know if Derrick Henry will play or not, but there's just not a whole lot of confidence there for me on the receiver side of things. Their defense is suspect. It's a really big letdown of a season for them, and I expect the Jaguars to beat them. So I mean, for me, I did think Joshua Dobbs looked better than what I expected him to look this game.
He played okay.
And he's definitely, I think it was a good coaching decision to make that move, because Malik has a long ways to go to be the guy you want him to be. Yeah.
You mentioned that defense. I don't know if these guys were out because of injury or because that was coach's decision and they wanted to rest up for week 18, knowing that was a win and in kind of game. But Joshua Dobbs did play okay for what he was given. The defense wasn't going to help him at all. He had no receivers out there and no Derrick Henry. So he had his moments. He had flashes. But ultimately, there just wasn't enough talent out there for him to be successful against Dallas.
No, and I think with Dallas, I'll even say I don't think Dallas's defense even played up to their standards this game. I think it was a letdown across the board. But
look, Dak threw 2 picks in the first half, and Tennessee really had a chance to win this game if they had any kind of talent over there.
Right,
honestly.
Right. I and that kind of slipped into my head a little bit, thinking maybe Tennessee does have a chance, but at the end of the day, with how lopsided it was talent-wise, I always had that feeling that Dallas would pull this out, whether it's ugly or not. I mean, they just got too much talent out there on both sides that are playing in that game to not overtake that one. But it comes down to, though, that I don't care what you say. I don't care, how big of a Cowboys fan or not. Like, if you are a Cowboys fan, you have to be nervous about Dak Prescott leading you into the playoffs.
And your head coach, no question. We can keep it in the NFC East, where we probably had the surprise of the noon slot, where we had the New Orleans Saints on the road at Philly. Philly is the number one seed in the NFC, and they had the number 1 seed on the line. If they were to win this game, they were going to lock that up. They took an L last week to Dallas, where they could have locked it up 34-40. And I think with Gardner Minshew at quarterback, putting up 34 points against Dallas, you probably felt pretty good going into this game against the Saints. Although we did mention last week, these two teams seem to play each other very tough. It's 13-0 at halftime. Philly was shut out. They did have a touchdown in the second half, taken away due to a holding call. They end that drive with a field goal, and things really didn't get much better. 20-10, they take a loss at home, and now they have to win Week 18 if San Francisco wins against the Cardinals, which we assume they will, to assure themselves with that number 1 seed in the NFC. You do not want to lose these last 3 games of the regular season, especially without your quarterback, and lose that number 1 seed. So big game for the Philadelphia Eagles coming up this weekend.
Huge game. I can't remember off the top of my head. Do you know who they play this week again?
Giants.
Okay.
So Giants did clinch, and they probably will sit
rivalry. Yeah, so I do expect even if they were healthy, I expect the Eagles to win that game.
Sure.
Keep number 1 seed. I think they did as best they could against Dallas when they played them with Minshew at quarterback, and they had an opportunity to win that game. But when you look at this game, it just kind of it had that feel like just like they were kind of out of sync, like not feeling themselves as much as they usually do, and kind of not saying they took the day off per se, but you get this late in the season, and Jalen Hurts is going to be back at some point. I just feel like sometimes guys kind of just like want to lay low a little bit and not make it interesting on purpose, but they just don't come ready to play like they normally do. And I think they realize, okay, we're playing a non-playoff team here. I think we can, we control our own destiny, but at the same time, like, them being at home, that is a little bit nerve-wracking to think about. But I mean, hey, the defense, they still only gave up 20 points. That's not terrible. The offense is concerning, only scoring 10 points. But at the same time, I will say, as much as I wanted to say this is any quarterback could thrive in this system, to me, this game proved that Jalen Hurts is in the conversation with MVP, right up there with Patrick Mahomes, just off the season he's having. And they desperately need Hurts healthy come playoff time and to make a run, because with him, anything's possible.
I think Minshew's, if he's not the best backup, he's in the top 3. This offense just works differently with Jalen Hurts, though he presents a different dynamic in the run game. He has become a lot better as a passer. I will say that A.J. Brown, the addition of him helps a lot. They do have weapons out there. They have taken a couple hits, though, these past couple weeks. Offensive linemen have gone down. Montez Sweat went down against the New Orleans Saints. So, obviously, along with Jalen Hurts, they're not at full strength. But at this point in the season, nobody is. But that's something that I'm keeping an eye on for this Philly team, because that is worrisome. They are losing key guys at the wrong time right now.
Oh, for sure. And I think, what I will say is, for me, I believe for me, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I do truly believe that 49ers are an overall better team than the Eagles.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, we're going to see what this Eagles team is made of come playoff time. Hopefully Hurts is back healthy and some key guys are, because we're going to see what they're really made of. They kind of had a cupcake schedule all year long and got by with some things. We're going to see what type of coach Nick Sirianni is in the playoffs when it matters. Because playoffs, I mean, you might get one or two teams in the playoffs who aren't that great, but most of the time, these teams know what's on the line in the playoffs, and they're going to come to play. They're going to put their best foot forward, and we'll truly see what the Eagles are made of. I mean, they do, if they can win Sunday, they'll have the number 1 seed, and it's obviously a tough road through Philadelphia. But
no question.
I just think, if I had to put my money on it, I've said it before, I think it's Eagles, Niners in that championship game.
A team that could get there is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last week, they hosted the Carolina Panthers in a battle for the NFC South. They ended up winning that game 30-24 after a resurgence from Tom Brady, having over 400 pass yards and 3 touchdowns. All 3 of those touchdowns going to Mike Evans, who had over 200 receiving yards himself. Carolina Panthers, I think they really let an opportunity to slip away. The difference in this game was the turnover battle. If you're not going to count the lateral sequence at the end of the game, the turnover battle was 3-1 in favor of the Buccaneers. One of those turnovers being a strip sack late in the fourth quarter on Sam Darnold, pretty much sealing the fate for the Carolina Panthers. How I feel about this Panthers game is kind of how I feel about the Lions game a couple weeks ago when Jared Goff had a really good game and they squandered that opportunity to get that W. Darnold was 23 of 37, 341 yards and 3 touchdowns, and I would almost bet my life that he'll never have another game like that in his career. So it's really tough to let that slip through your fingers if you're the Carolina Panthers, but Tom found a way. We know he has that championship pedigree. We know he's brought that to Tampa Bay, and for the second year in a row, they're NFC South champions.
I don't have much in this game besides, these Tom Brady numbers, 34, 45, 432 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And then you got Mike Evans, 200 yards, Chris Godwin, 120.
Hey, man.
I mean, if they do this in the playoffs, bro.
Those Brady numbers, man, it makes you think.
Because he showed a little bit of vintage Tom Sunday.
Yeah, he did.
And that's the thing is, to me, yes, he probably lost some of what he had over his career, but if he's if this game kind of like clicks with him and he starts to feel himself a little bit, and he's that type of player with that pedigree where he can do what he's done all season long, but when he knows playoffs are right here and they're going to be in it, he's going to have a whole new beast come out.
It's a different level.
And this Buccaneers team is going to be a scary team in the playoffs because they know what they're capable of. Yeah, they've been dinged up, this and that, and they still are, but all it takes is, a slip up from one of those top NFC teams and the Bucs to, relish that. It's
look. Do we have faith in the
watch out
Cowboys
for these
beating the
Bucs,
Bucks?
bro. I'm telling you, bro. I've said that you said
what
that
I'm
you put your
saying?
money on the you said you put your money on Cowboys smashing them. I said I don't know about that, bro. To go to Tampa Bay, bro,
A lot of money.
and put on I mean, come on, bro. You just went to Tennessee and you laid an egg, like even though you
Yeah.
won by 14. Come on, are you gonna tell me confidently that you trust Dak to beat Tom Brady?
Not at all.
I can't
I've been wrong
believe
a couple
anybody who
times
would
this
say
week, and
that.
That's okay though.
But we're gonna hear freaking Skip Bayless talk about Dak outshining Brady and this
I was
and
gonna
that.
say, I don't even think Skip would do that. Tom's his guy.
I would hope not, bro. But we're gonna get. I mean, I think you're gonna get
Skip
that
is nasty when Tom
rematch.
gets brought up.
Hey, bro, he does, and I don't know. I just got this feeling that I'm not saying that the Bucs are gonna go on and play in the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, but I just have a feeling that they're gonna at least win one game and make it completely interesting the rest of the way.
That they can do, especially if Philly gets this one seed and they're not healthy. Who knows what the fucking happened? They beat him a couple years ago, if it wasn't last year in the playoffs. So they're a familiar foe.
I mean, it's
Next
just we'll dive more into the playoffs and everything, but it's just the playoffs is a completely different season than the regular season. It's two different feels. It's two anything can happen. Like that's why it's the playoffs just they don't last long enough, but they're much more fun than the regular season. But it just doesn't last long enough. So
I agree.
You got to
with that.
relish it while you can.
Next, we'll move on to Miami, who's facing the Patriots in New England. Tua was not playing in this game. He was replaced by Teddy, who gets a start for the Dolphins. Before I go any further in this game, I just have to say, if I'm a Dolphins fan for the 2023-2024 season, I cannot go into the season with both of these guys behind center. Every time Tua's out, Teddy's supposed to be in, and he leaves the game with an injury. Skylar Thompson's seen the field way too much this season. That's not the way I want to go for next year. Tua with another concussion, that's very concerning. I don't know what the future holds for him. Teddy, any injury that you could ever think of, Teddy somehow has it in 2 possessions. I don't understand. But he's not reliable. Although I believe in his talent as a backup quarterback, he's solid. He's just not reliable. But onto the game. It was tied 7 at half. There was a pick six by Duggar that put New England up 17-14. And that was pretty much all the Patriots and the Dolphins had to offer for us. This game was 21-23. With the win, New England moves up to the 7th seed in the AFC with an 8-8 record. The Dolphins, with their 5th loss in a row, moved down to 8-8 and are now the 9th seed in the AFC. What do you think about this one right here, man? Dolphins are looking very reminiscent of my Baltimore Ravens last year.
Yeah, I mean, number one, you can't have Raheem Mostert being your leading receiver with 8 catches, 62 yards.
That's
and
ridiculous.
The next being Tyreek Hill, 4 catches, 55 yards. I mean, that right there screams, oh, a backup was playing quarterback. Like,
Yeah, it does.
that's what happens. So, for me, this I could have cared less about this game. Both these teams won't do anything in the playoffs New England for sure. I just there's nothing good about these teams. Like even when Tua's in as of late, like this team doesn't look like it did the first 5 weeks of the season. New England,
No.
there's only so much New England's defense can do. The offense is a joke. Matt Patricia as an offensive coordinator is a joke. Mac Jones, I think, is a complete joke, and he's going to end up being a bust of a quarterback. He'll probably end up being a backup somewhere. He's not capable of leading a team to the playoffs and doing damage. Like he just isn't. He doesn't. No one fears him. Like
You think that's all on him or that offensive coordinator?
no, I think it's part. I think it's part the offensive coordinator. I think that has a big role to do with it. I mean, think about it. The quarterback and the OC have to be on the same page all the time,
right?
For something to be successful. So when it's not, and you got Mac Jones pouting and throwing tantrums and shaking his head at the sideline and waving the sideline off, like, and you're doing that on a Bill Belichick team. I mean, what if he would have done that to Nick Saban?
Nick Saban would not be coaching, and Mac Jones would not have a boss. That's how that would be going.
So, I mean, that's some of these guys. It's funny when they get into the league, they act like they can do whatever they want, and I hate that quality out of people, like that NFL players, I should say. Like when they seem, like they got good qualities about them in college, but they're doing it just because, they know they have to shut up and pretty much play, or they get their scholarship taken away, or they get benched, and then their NFL dreams are squandered. And so, they're one way in college, but once you get to the NFL, you really see people start to open up and truly show themselves. And I think that's what Mac Jones is doing. Like he just seems like he's going to be a headache wherever he goes.
It kind of seems that way in some instances. As far as his play goes, I don't know if he'll be a bust. I think he'll be more of a Jared Goff type. 2 years here, 2 years there till we get a good guy, and then 2 years here, 3 years there, and finish out.
Yeah, maybe bust was a little too harsh. I don't think he'll run himself out of the league or anything, but I mean, he's much better than Wentz, and look at the opportunities Wentz has had. So, I mean, he'll get his shots, but I just don't see a long-term future in New England for this guy.
You kind of made a good point, though. That college, he seemed pretty buttoned up. He seemed like a whatever, All-American, good boy or whatever, but he's giving me a little bit of Johnny Manziel vibes now. And I don't – that's not the route you want at quarterback.
No.
Next, we have Denver at Kansas City.
I will say there's a lot of – go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to make one. I think with New England, I think Belichick does as good as he can with that defense, and he's always going to have a pretty solid to top-notch defense most years. It's just there's always – without Tom Brady, there's so many holes on this offense that they need a lot more than what they have. And that's all I have to say about it. It's just the offense is very pedestrian to not very good. Yeah,
they put a lot of pressure on that defense, and that can only get you so far. The offense has to be able to do something. Yeah, similar to this next team, Denver, who was on the road at Kansas City. The first time these two teams met, we disrespected Denver, and rightfully so. They're dumpster fire. But they do have a good defense, and they did give the Chiefs a battle in that first game. Second time around, we disrespected Denver. Rightfully so. They're a dumpster fire. But I did message you a day or two later saying, they did fire their coach. That either goes one of two ways. They're going to play their asses off, or they're absolutely going to crater. And with this defense, after giving up 51 to the Rams, that's it. This defense, that unit is too talented. That means they checked out on the coach. 27-24, they take a loss to Kansas City. They play well again. The defense holds up well, and they're somehow able to score points against this Chiefs defense, which is very worrisome for me because they cannot score points against anybody else in the NFL. But for the Chiefs, Mahomes, he just does this thing again, 29-42, 328, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Quiet day for him. Quiet day for Kelsey with under 50 yards, but he made a lot of big plays, made a big conversion on third down to seal the game for the Kansas City Chiefs. They get out of Arrowhead with a narrow victory over the Denver Broncos, probably a little too close for comfort, but they're well on their way to that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, for me, the only thing I really have to say is, because I'm not touching Denver, the only thing I have to say is in regards to Kansas City, specifically their defense. It's all going to come down to how that defense shows up week in and week out in the playoffs. Because if they don't show up and they play like they did against Denver, they're not winning the Super Bowl.
I can agree with that. And from what we saw last night, the little bit that we did see, that Cincinnati drive to open the game, you're going to be in trouble. So you got a week or two to fix some things. But if you don't, It might be an early exit
Oh,
for
and
you, honestly.
not to mention that Cincinnati has Kansas City's number. Like
They
they
do.
just do. They know how to play them. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd be, I'm not going to say Kansas City needs to be nervous or anything because they should be confident and go into each game confident and play well. But it's got to be in the back of your head, especially in your position meetings or in your group meetings or whatever uh, on practice days. Like, hey, we got to button a lot of shit up to get to the Super Bowl and win it. Like, this is Mahomes is going to do Mahomes things. Kelsey's going to do Kelsey things. They're going to get decent plays most games out of their backfield. The backfield is still sort of worrisome, but I mean, I liked what Kadarius Toney adds to this offense. I mean, if he stays healthy, like they're going to put up points. It's just that defense is capable of squandering it all away.
They really are. I like all the weapons they have and the depth of those weapons. They even have a backup tight end who's solid. Receivers aren't top notch, but they have 3-4 guys that are very capable, and the running backs are, again, not top notch, but Pacheco and McKinnon are very good backs. So Mahomes is going to be able to get the job done. That defense is really up to them. It's going to be on their shoulders. Even though you could put the loss last year in the playoffs on Mahomes, he really did not show up in that second half against the Bengals, and that cost them their season. But I wouldn't expect that to happen again. Let's see. These next 3 games here, they were done at halftime. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road at Houston. Jags were looking to stay hot and finish the season hot against AFC South opponents. Their last 2 games, Houston and Tennessee, are AFC South opponents, and they would like to finish the season 2-0 against them. They were up 21-0 at the half against Houston, and they never look back. They get the dub 31-3. I do not have to spend a lot of time on this one. They obviously have a big game, Week 18 against the Tennessee Titans, to take that crown of AFC South champion and get that 4 seed in the playoffs. That's what my eyes would be on for the Jacksonville Jaguars team going forward.
I really like what Jacksonville's doing as of late. I really think they can be a surprise team in the playoffs. Maybe squeak by that first game and then make it very interesting that second game. I really see them as a team that could possibly do that. They're just the way they're playing right now and having a lot of confidence.
As it sits, I think it's Jacksonville versus Chargers in that first round, and that will be a very fun game. You have a top 4 quarterback in Herbert versus a guy who's up and coming and should be in that conversation in a couple of years in Trevor Lawrence. 31-3. We know Houston's been tough in most of these games, if not all of these games this season. To beat this team in division by 4 touchdowns when you know what's on the line, I think that's very impressive, and it shows good signs for Jacksonville going forward.
It is. They're kind of finding their footing at the right time this season. I think, it's been kind of hit and miss the first half of the season, and then second half of the season comes along, and they're really starting to kind of really find out who they are, what they have in Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Travis Etienne is he looked like a monster Sunday. They have a lot of good pieces there. I mean, come next year, this team is going to be in the thick of it for seeding wise, like top 4. Like, I mean, they are technically the 4th seed right now, but I think they have a shot at being a top 3 seed next year for real.
They should run away with this division next year, honestly, by the way everything looks right now. Next, we have Chicago at Detroit. Fields had 10 rushes for 132 yards. I don't know if he finished with that, but that's just what I have in my notes at this point of the game. He passed Michael Vick, and he is behind only Lamar Jackson for rush yards by a quarterback in a single season. So he has a chance to make history in Week 18 if he does play. And if he does play, hey, there's a great chance. That defense isn't great over there. Chicago did give up 7 sacks in this one to Fields. I think 4 of those came in the first quarter. He was getting beat up early, but Chicago did have a chance to keep this game close early. But Detroit, like Jacksonville, very impressive. Gets a win against a team who's been very feisty all season. Multiple score win, 41-10. And they have a very unique chance of getting into the playoffs. They would need to beat the Packers next week and hope for a little bit of luck. But this is right where you'd want to be if you're a Detroit Lions fan.
How fun will it be? I mean, we'll get into it, but how fun will it be to watch that Sunday Night Football game?
That's going to be the good part of the pod, is the Week 18
preview. Okay, so here we go. I think what I read was Justin Fields had 105 yards rushing in the first quarter alone. And I know that because I think it was Field Yates who covers like the fantasy part of ESPN,
Okay.
stated after the first quarter he was on pace for 60 fantasy points, which we knew that wasn't going to happen. But I mean, that's ridiculous, anyways. 105 rushing yards alone in the first quarter. That's crazy. But you look at these. I mean, look at the receivers' numbers. I mean, the 3 guys led the way with 2 catches apiece.
That's what I was going to say. How is he getting 100 yards?
Like, I will. Oh, I don't want to go that far. I will throw something of my Vikings collection away if we lose to the Bears this week.
That's fair. I mean, Chicago plays tough, but they have no business being in the game with you guys.
I think, I mean, we already know what the Chicago team is. They can't pass worth a damn. It's always running the ball, and it's all Justin Fields. If you can't come into this game, I mean, to me, you have to come into this game and you have to keep someone spying him the whole time. That's just
no question about
it.
First thing on the whiteboard.
So, you know, and this, we'll get into the preview. I jumped the gun a lot with talking about my Vikings, but yeah, this Chicago team, I don't know, man. They're unique as hell, the way they can play you tough and the way they do it, especially on offense. But the Detroit side of things, man, they are the surprise for me this year for Detroit is just how much I thought DeAndre Swift would be a key. I mean, he is a key guy in that. But I mean, Jamal Williams deserves a contract raise, bro. Like,
I never liked Swift, and Williams I always liked in Green Bay. They never used him enough.
Like 22 carries, 144 yards and a touchdown, bro. Like go ahead, Jamal. Like those are big numbers right there for running back. I like to see it, and I don't know, man. It's this Detroit team. I hope they don't go in Sunday and shit the bed, because I really, really hope they can somehow make the playoffs. That would be fun to watch for that fan base. I think, you know, they've been through hell and back, you know, plenty of times with their teams, and
I'm not trying to hear that, Detroit fan base. You don't want the Packers in the playoffs. Let's be honest.
Well, of course I don't, but I'm just saying, on the other side of the spectrum, when you got a game that's coming up and it's got the freaking Lions as a primetime game to get to the playoffs, like you don't ever hear that shit. So I think this Lions fan base deserves this type of game and deserves to go out on a winning note, especially against the Packers. Like, how much better does it get for a team who's been down in the dumps so long to go in to a meaningful game, knock off the Packers that everyone hates in our division, and you get to go to the playoffs? Like that's just, you know, I mean, that you can't get any better for a team like that. So best of luck to them. And yeah, I really like the way this team is coached. I like the groups they got together. But I think, you know, you're going to add a few more pieces this offseason. And I mean, this Detroit team, they're just not going to go away. Like, they will be here for quite some time.
Yeah, they have a really good foundation right now. They will be here for some time for sure. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts on the road at the New York Giants. The Giants were facing a win-and-in scenario. They went into the half up 24-3, so obviously they took that W, 38-10, and they have clinched the number 6 seed in the NFC. First playoff appearance since 2016, when they had the infamous boat trip photo taken with Odell Beckham in the gang, taking a loss to those Packers that we just mentioned. What'd you think about this game, man? Giants clinching up the playoff spot. Davo put his name in conversation for Coach of the Year. I know we both had him in our 5, I think. At least we had him in our 5 earlier in the season, about halfway through.
Yep.
I've heard a lot of talk about him being the surefire winner. I'm not too sure about that, but very impressive what he's been able to do with Daniel Jones in this offense. 38 points is nothing to sneeze at. But I don't think he's the surefire winner.
No, look, I don't think he's a surefire winner at all. I think you would have to look. I personally would give it to Nick Sirianni. I just think what he's done with the Eagles team. I mean, not saying he gets to get all the credit for the production from Jalen Hurts or what the season he's had, but he has a lot to do with coaching him up since he's got there. And I mean, yeah, Daboll is as great as he's done with this New York team. I just don't know, man. And for this game, I mean, it's pretty impressive to put 38 points up because, I mean, the Colts defense is nothing to laugh about. That they are decent defense. It's just they can't do shit on offense. They really can't. And as much as that offense, the offense can never stay on the field long enough to give their defense a break. So that defense is constantly gassed. That's why they give up a lot of points. And for me, look at the Giants' numbers overall, individually, stat-wise. Daniel Jones, 177 pass yards. I mean, and he led the way with 91 rush yards as well and 2 touchdowns.
That's
Hell of a day for. I mean, Daniel Jones he's sneakily, or however you say it, sneakily good at running the fucking ball. I don't know how he does it because he doesn't look like he'd be a guy to run the ball, but it's pretty damn impressive. As long as he doesn't trip over his own shoelaces, like, he's okay. But passing the ball, he leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion. Maybe that has something to do with, he doesn't have many weapons, but
He doesn't have any weapons.
But I am very intrigued by like a guy like Isaiah Hodgins. He seems like he's a very solid receiver. I'm not saying he's elite or a big name, but he's definitely a guy you could go out and get, and he'd be a very, very good number 2. But this Giants team, shoot, I mean, hell, their best opportunity to win a playoff game is against the Vikings, in my opinion. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, last time you played them, you said Daniel Jones had his best game of the season, so I don't see why that would be too much different. He's effective through the air. At least he's efficient through the air. His numbers aren't great, but he is very effective on the ground. Saquon Barkley is a game changer. They just don't have any receivers out there that really give you any. They don't scare you at all. So that's really my issue with this team. Defense is solid. Yeah. We saw that all season. Last week especially, but that's the question for me. Daniel Jones is obviously a question, but the receivers are a huge question.
Yeah, for sure.
You were going to say?
Oh, no, that's it for me on this game. I don't have much else. I'll kind of mention the Giants again when I get to the Vikings, but that's all on this game for me.
Cleveland at Washington. Who do you think is more to blame for this one, man? Ron Rivera or Carson Wentz? We know Wentz got the start over Heineke. He threw 2 early picks, and that was the game right there.
I'll say this. I had Cleveland winning this game. Let's not forget that aspect of it.
Right.
But at the same time, both Rivera and Wentz are to blame. Wentz's play is very bad every time he's in there.
It was terrible yesterday.
I think he's too mentally fucked up from the national attention he gets for being the way he is, especially in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
But, and that's, I mean, call it what it is. Like, I know I'm right about Wentz. Like, he's just he's a worse version of Ryan Fitzpatrick the rest of the way. Journeyman, latches onto a team. You're okay with him playing a game, maybe 2, if you need him to, and you're hoping your quarterback doesn't go down long term, so he has to step in long term.
Right.
But the bigger blame in this is Rivera. I don't understand the thought process of going to Wentz from Taylor Heineke. I just don't. Like, it made no sense in this crucial of a situation that you're in with trying to get into the playoffs, the 6th and 7th seed. What are you doing, bro? This is not the time to switch quarterbacks, as you guys have been playing decently the whole season with Heineke. Sure, he might have 1 or 2 bad games. That doesn't mean you bench him. Like, the guys continuously show you they play better with this guy leading the way. Like, it. So this is on you, and this is almost this type of decision should almost be a fireable offense because this is very bad coaching.
I think that decision, along with not knowing that you could be eliminated if the Packers win a football game, those things combined are fireable, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And that was a joke and a half watching that interview process go on. I mean, to not know, like, give me a break. Like, if you don't know that, bro, you should not be coaching.
No, I love Ryan, but you got to be out of there. You can't do that. And Wentz just wasn't the guy, man. He threw 2 early picks against the Browns, and that really cost him the game. He threw another one late just for the cherry on top.
Wentz can't. And you know what? It's funny is Wentz can't read the field for shit. But what's funny is, yeah, Deshaun Watson had 3 touchdown passes, but guess what? Those numbers are atrocious still, and he still doesn't look good.
These might be 2 of the bottom 5 offenses in the league. Deshaun did have 3 touchdowns. I think he had 169 yards or something weak as hell like that, and he had a big play to Cooper, and that bulked up his stats a lot. But he has not looked good at all. He looks just as bad as Carson Wentz, if you ask me.
Yep. This
is one of the ugliest games to watch, and with this loss, Washington was eliminated from playoff contention, and they should be.
And they should be, and I think they really need to look at the end of Ron Rivera's tenure in Carolina. To me, he just didn't seem like a good coach. I think he's one of those guys who's getting up there in age as well. He's stuck in his ways. He's never going to change, and you're going to get the same outcome from his teams all the time. And that, to me, just no team should hire you as a head coach. Yes, you can be a defensive coordinator or whatever you'd like to coach, still positionally maybe as well. But head coach, that's out of the question for Ron Rivera in my eyes. Like if he's fired,
you obviously had a better quarterback in Carolina. Everything else, though, pretty similar across the board. You did have Kuechly, who was probably top 3 middle linebacker in the league, Thomas Davis. But you do have a good defense in Washington. Where those linebackers excelled in Carolina, your D-line excels in Washington. You do have a good linebacking core as well. Your defensive backfield isn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Your running backs are good. I think your running backs at the time when you were very successful with D'Angelo Williams, Jonathan Stewart, guys like that. So not far off from that. And your receiving room was way better than what you had in Carolina, in my opinion. So this shouldn't have ended the way it did. I really think you should have stayed behind the key. Wentz has been healthy for a long time, and he hasn't been in there for a reason. You just throw him out there with your season on the line. That's a bad move, man. Real bad call.
Terrible. And I think I knew in my gut, I think when he named Wentz starter, I was like, the season's over. I felt that. I'm like, this is going to be one of those. I mean, this is, to me, it screamed like just a head coach trying to be too cute.
Sometimes they get in their own way. This game might be our quickest recap in the history of Gridiron games so far. We have Arizona on the road at Atlanta. 2 teams out of playoff contention. And all I have for you is that the Falcons were down 19-17 before they kicked a game-winning field goal as time expired to take the victory 20-19 over the Cardinals.
And all I have is I'm glad the Cardinals lost because that team needs to be blown up and started all over.
We should have a hot take episode this summer. We'll talk about it, though. Maybe the game of the weekend. We had San Francisco on the road at Las Vegas. Jarrett Stidham in there for Derek Carr. It was announced that he'll be benched for the remainder of the season. And if you're a Raiders fan, you probably weren't expecting too much. But Stidham actually goes out there and balls out. 365 pass yards. I think he had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 1 being very crucial, coming in overtime. Yes, I said overtime. The Raiders dragged the 49ers to overtime, where Nick Bosa, he was able to force an interception on Nick Bosa was able to force an interception. I forget this quarterback's name now. On Stidham, he got in his face, he forced pressure, and the Raiders ended up throwing a pick. San Francisco ends up getting the game in the field goal in overtime. Really in contention for that number 1 seed still in the NFC. With the W and the loss that we'll talk about in just a second here, they are currently the number 2 seed in the NFC.
Yep.
Probably looking like the best team, though. We've said that for a couple of weeks now. 49ers have been looking dominant on defense, even though they gave up a lot more points than we would expect, especially to a backup quarterback. But Raiders played well. They had all their weapons back. Waller was back. Renfro was back. Matt Collins, he's probably been their most consistent receiver this year. And obviously, Devonta Adams had a huge game yesterday. But ultimately, McCaffrey had a big run late, set this team up, got him in position. 49ers got out of here with the W. Excuse my stumble through that.
Yeah, you were about to call him Jason Statham, weren't you?
I was the ball dude. I know his name. I forgot it. I was like, fuck, I just forgot his name. Just let him know. Shit.
Oh, man. No, I think for me, I was and all that. For me, I was just surprised at the outcome of this. Just like not outcome, but like how this played out. Like I didn't think the Raiders were capable of making this a game with the 49ers, but this is what I talk about. I mean, like you sometimes get these games where like a 1 or 2 seed will have a late regular season game and they just don't play up to their standards. But look, this has got to be very encouraging for 49ers faithful, because you got a guy like Brock Purdy starting the rest of the way. You still got that terrific defense, and you might not have played your best game, but you showed that when adversity hit, you can come out on top. And that's the biggest takeaway for me, because at this late in the season, before playoff time, you're not going out there and just going to give up and lose the game, and just say, oh, well, we're still a 3 seed, so we're fine. No, you go out there and you overcome that adversity and you win the game, and that's what they did. And I still think this is a very deadly team. I still think that they are better than the Eagles overall. And look, each game that Purdy's been in, he's resembled the numbers of Jimmy G every week. And that's all that you can ask for from this guy. That's perfect. That's perfectly okay what he's doing. You might want the interception back, obviously, but you know what? I'll take 22 of 35, 284 yards and 2 touchdowns as long as we win the game.
That's better than what Jimmy's doing, honestly. But it's right along those same lines.
It's when I mean that, it's usually you're seeing mid to higher end 200 yards passing and a touchdown or 2, and that's I wouldn't have even guessed that we'd see this type of play from Brock Purdy. I thought it was going to be quite a drop off, but it hasn't been. He's just picked up. I mean, and that's what you get. You get guys like this in the draft. He's Mr. Irrelevant or whatever, but you'll even get undrafted guys who sign and all of a sudden they play much better than they did in college, because you get better coaching. This is what you do for a living. It's 24/7. You're in the playbook. You're practicing. It's just weird how you can be. He wasn't. I know he was a Iowa State star, but it's not like he broke the college game because of his play. So right. It's good for him for having the start to his career that he's having. And I don't know, man. I just really believe in this 49ers team. They're the scariest team across the board for me, just because they're capable of doing so many different things to you to win a game, and a lot of teams can't say the same.
Packers, we're looking to finish out the season on a 5-game win streak. The Vikings are tired of hearing the noise, man. We're not the little brother anymore. Packers are picking on you, giving you wet willies and everything.
Damn, you gotta do all that now.
You have a chance to sweep the Packers. Not only sweep them, but to eliminate them from the playoffs. You had a trifecta, man. I'm just trying to set it up to let you know, man. You had a chance to shut all this down. Unfortunately, Vikings weren't able to show up. Started close. Green Bay stopped Minnesota on the opening drive. Vikings stopped Green Bay, blocked the punt, recovered the ball at the 1.5, 2-yard line for 1st and goal. Weren't able to punch it in for a touchdown, settled for a field goal, and it was all Green Bay after that. And you can take it from here, sir.
Look, for me, what a fucking letdown. I'm just at the point where I'm starting to really question O'Connell as a. I think he's a great leader and a leader of men, but when it comes to X's and O's, I am not impressed at all by this guy. I think it's shown multiple times this year now, 4 to be exact, all losses by a lot of points. He doesn't have his team ready for critical games, and it's very worrisome, especially the playoffs right around the corner. If we do win a game, it will probably be against the Giants, but after that, I'm not confident in this team at all. I've lost all the faith that I've had in this team. And if we go on some miracle run, hey, you can rub it in my face. But I don't see it happening. And
I would not do that.
I don't know. I think the Packers had so much to play for in this game, and they knew it. And they were at home. Their fans knew it. That I haven't heard Lambeau that loud in quite some time, honestly. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty impressive to hear and watch. But I mean, I've always said it, as long as they have Aaron Rodgers, you can never count out the Green Bay Packers. He's just that type of guy where, and usually whatever he says mid-season comes to fruition. Oh, we got a couple scenarios that could play out. All we got to do is do this, this, and that, and we'll be in the playoffs. And look, it's happening right before our eyes. And
Winning in, baby.
Hey, for me, I think the Packers are more dangerous as a bottom seed than a top seed because they have nothing to lose. They can go out there, play more free, no expectations on their back, and they could make a big run at this thing, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they were the 6th seed when they won their last Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that was the last time that Rodgers threw, 11 picks in a season just like this year, so watch out.
Hey, history repeats itself. That's what they say.
For me, when it comes down to the Vikings, it's just, bro, I don't know what to say, bro. We got the same bullshit week in, week out with the defense. We all know that. The offense, though, it's just very underwhelming. I came into this year expecting a big time offense with O'Connell leading the way, and I just don't see it. I mean, we can't run the ball at anybody. That's been proven time and time again. JJ, he's pretty much the only option most weeks. Everyone else, I mean, this team needs. I like TJ Hawkinson. He's been a good number 2 option, but I mean, come on, dude. I'm not saying he's the Adam Thielen of old, but what he's done in his career. What he's done in his career, though, and even this year, proving he's very reliable in crucial situations and clutch, why do you not look for him more? I cannot understand that.
When you look for him a lot in the past seasons, and he has been reliable, sure-handed, toe tap, everything you needed from him.
I can't imagine he's lost that much speed where he's not getting separation. I mean, there's been plenty of times this season where they show a replay and Kirk's looking one way the whole way. Adam Thielen's wide open, either on the sideline or in the middle of the field, and he doesn't throw it his way. We get a lot of those replays time and time again where we're watching what happened that previous play, and Kirk is not looking anywhere else but JJ's way, and it's either a great play or it's horrendous because he's taken a bad sack, or it's a pick, or it's an incompletion. I mean, dude,
even when JJ catches it, sometimes he's getting mollywopped,
and it's just like you can't look at this offensive roster and say that we don't have a really not really loaded, but that we don't have a loaded roster. Like, we have talent all over the board on offense, and the production we're getting is just horrendous. And I hate to say it, but this has got to be the worst 12-4 football team that I've seen in quite some time. It just has to be. And there's no confidence there for me in this team. It's a bad look all the way around. I mean, at this point, if we're going to play like this, because at this point, I don't know what to expect with this team at any point each week. Like, I just don't know what team I'm getting. And even if it's a win, it's not going to be that great of a win because it's probably by 3 to 7 points. So
probably.
For me, it's just they don't inspire any confidence. And O'Connell has got a lot to prove as a head coach, I believe. Let me say this. It's a great start for a first-year regime to build off of, but this is not a Super Bowl team. I've said that from the beginning. It's just not, and we got to accept that. And we need to be very disappointed because if you're 12-4 and people are talking about you this way, that's a very bad look. And you need to go back to the drawing board and get some shit done because this offseason, to me, is very pivotal in this regime's future here. And I truly believe that. And I just want to see what they do because this defense, we can't have the same defense next year or it's going to be a 500 or below team. And that's all I have to say.
I usually have words of encouragement, but after giving up, 41 straight points, there's not a lot for me to say about this one.
No, it's bad,
that's
bro.
A tough pill to swallow right there.
It's I mean, truthfully, I'm almost glad it played out the way it did because I was saying before the game, I forget who I was talking to, but I said before the game, we might almost want to lose this game and get the 3 seed because I don't want to play a division rival in the first round of the playoffs because we've already lost to the Lions and we've already got smoked by the Packers. So,
Right.
not looking good. So I'm almost glad that as it sits right now, we're playing the Giants, who we did beat, not by a lot, but we did beat them. I feel more confident playing them first round than I would Lions or Packers. That's what I'll say.
Moving on, we have the Jets at Seattle. Again, this game was over quick. Seattle scores on the opening drive. The Jets do not. Even though they did have Mike White back at quarterback, it looks like those ribs were probably affecting him and his ability to throw the football. The Jets were not able to muster up a touchdown in this game, losing the game 6-23. And with the loss, the Jets are now eliminated from playoff contention. With the W, Seattle now moves up to 7 in the NFC.
Oh, man. What do you say about this? Man, you go ahead. You give me your take on this because I don't know what to say about really these two teams right here.
Well, I think this was one of the games that we were split on. You had the Jets, I had Seattle. I was not aware that Lockett was going to come back in this game. If I knew that, I would have a lot more confidence in the Seahawks winning this game. Him, DK, and Gino really have a nice combination, really have a nice connection this year. I did think it would be a struggle a little bit because the Jets have a great pass defense. Like I said, though, this is a surprise for me. Mike White was only able to muster up 6 points against this putrid Seattle defense. I mean, that's pretty much my takeaway against this one, or of this one. If it wasn't him, it was either going to be, I think, Streveler, maybe even Joe Flacco, but I would assume one of those guys would be able to get something going against this defense. They haven't been able to stop anybody all year. So I think for you to lose your season like that, it's pretty tough, man.
And who does Seattle have this coming week?
Seattle plays the Rams at home.
So here's the thing. Like, if Seattle wins, does that mean anything? Or Green Bay would have to lose, right? And Seattle has to win for Seattle to be in?
So Green Bay wins and they're in. Lions would have to win and Seattle would have to lose. Seattle has to win and the Lions would have to beat Green Bay.
Okay. There's a lot on the line this week between those teams.
It's a lot on the line.
Yeah, for me, I I gave the Jets one more chance.
It's fair, though. Man. The defense is solid, bro.
It is, but you know what it came down to, I think this team just had too much turmoil in that locker room at the end of the day to really overcome the bullshit. And it's mainly, in regards to Zach Wilson. He
didn't even suit up for this game. That guy is so
they're so done with him.
Dude, so
it's a sad situation, honestly. But he did that to himself, and you got to man up and take responsibility. And he's yet to do that. Blasphemy, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Yes, Seattle, if they can beat the Rams, you just got to hope for a Lions win, I guess, because I don't know, man. Who would you rather see, Seattle or the Lions in the playoffs?
If I was playing them, I would rather play against Seattle.
No, I'm saying as a fan, who would you rather watch in the playoffs, Lions or Seattle?
Lions.
Yeah. So I don't see how the Seahawks lose to the Rams, honestly, but that's my dream scenario for the 7 seed. I think is Seattle loses to Rams and Detroit wins against Green Bay.
Yeah. That's a fair scenario. It's very possible as well. 2 more games before we move on to Week 18. We had the Los Angeles Rams at the Los Angeles Chargers. This game as well was not close. 31-10 victory for the Chargers. With the victory, they move into 5th in the AFC. They are winners of 5 out of their last 6. And although they are 5th in the AFC, I think they are the 4th best team. They will probably end up playing Jacksonville. We talked about that a little bit earlier. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. Probably the 4th and 5th best team in the AFC. Just switch those numbers
Yep.
around seeding wise. But that's all I got for this one. Eckler looked pretty good. Herbert did his thing. Mike Williams made some great catches in this one. And the Chargers got out of here with the easy dub.
Yeah, look, I think we both kind of felt very confident in the Chargers winning this one. I mean, the Rams are just been a shit show all year, and the Chargers are just really starting to click and play well at the right time. And I think, getting healthier and healthier each week helps. But with a guy like Herbert, you're never going to be out of a game.
That's a bad man. Top 4 quarterback, no question. Never going to be out the game. He can make any throw from anywhere, up any platform, across his body, running left, running right, in the pocket.
Yep.
I mean, you're in good hands, man. You always have a chance, for real. Our last game we will touch on for Week 17. Similar to you guys. I mean, we had a chance to sweep a division rival. We had a chance to knock them out of the playoffs. We had a chance to keep Tomlin away from that 500 record. We just weren't able to do it. We had the lead the whole game. Kenny Pickett leads a great drive, man, and he's impressed me over these past few weeks. He leads a great drive, though. Completions to Deontay Johnson, Freiermuth, George Pickens throughout the game, big conversions throughout the game, and the touchdown pass to Najee Harris right over the top of Roquan Smith for the game-winning drive. Game-winning touchdown gives the Pittsburgh Steelers a 16-13 victory Sunday Night Football, excuse me. Still in the hunt for the playoffs, 8-8. They need a couple things to go right. We can talk about that in a little bit once we get to our picks, but Baltimore does have that spot locked up, probably looking like the 6th seed right now, looking like we'll be on the road against Cincinnati 2 weeks in a row, which isn't great for me, but we'll talk about that when it's time.
And obviously it happened in a bad situation or whatever, but Cincinnati pretty much just had a bye week.
Yeah, they did.
So that's going to be tough.
And I was wondering how that's going to affect seeding, because now the Chiefs were number 2.
Yeah, I was wondering that too.
The Bengals are probably finished with the same amount of losses. I guess that would put Chiefs ahead because they have more wins. But if the Chiefs lose, which I guess would have dropped them anyway, so I guess it might not even matter. Who knows? But yeah, Baltimore lost. We're bums. We need Lamar back. Tyler Huntley is not the answer. We averaged 28 points with Lamar. We averaged 18 without him, I think. And that's quite the drop-off. You expect to see a drop-off with backup quarterbacks, but that's the difference between advancing in the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round. I thought the defense played well. Outside of those big plays from Kenny Pickett and some conversions he had, the defense played well. Najee kind of did his thing against us. I mean, it's an AFC North battle. That's kind of what you expect, a lot of running. I wish we would have ran a little more. Tyler Huntley did have a decent game. He got Mark Andrews involved a little bit, but ultimately, man, this offense just doesn't have it right now. We rely too much on the defense, similar to the Patriots. So that's just not the way football games are going to be won in this day and age.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is it was an interesting game to watch. I think.
Get that smirk off your face.
Hey, I'm just laughing because it's just like you said before the podcast. We might have the two weirdest teams in the league this year.
We do, bro.
I don't even know what I can say to like even make it remotely better, because obviously that's a game you wanted to win, but it's just crazy to think about how the Steelers started out and now they're probably going to be 9-8.
Similar to the Packers. I mean, parallel universes, man, with the purple teams.
I know. It's crazy.
It's always been that way. But I'm good here. We can move on to Week 18 picks.
Yep.
So Saturday, we have the Chiefs on the road at the Raiders. I expect the Chiefs to handle business. I'm not sure what kind of seeding is on the line right now after that game was canceled last night, but I do think Chiefs have number one seed potential in the AFC. Raiders obviously played one of their better games Sunday against the 49ers. I don't expect them to double up on that performance, although I do think Stidham can have a great game against this Chiefs defense. I will take the Chiefs.
I agree about the Stidham point that you have. I do think the Chiefs defense worries me, but I think I don't know if they would sit anybody. If they do, obviously, if people start sitting people this week, we're gonna have interesting games. But I'll just assume that no one's being sat, and I'll go with the Chiefs here. I think they truly want that number one seed bad because they need that home field advantage at Arrowhead all the way through, especially with how that defense is. They need that crowd noise on their side and that atmosphere. So I'll give it to the Chiefs here, and I think they lock up number one.
Our second of two Saturday games, we have the Tennessee Titans on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars. In this AFC South battle, we are going to see who comes out on top as the champion and who claims the fourth seed in the AFC. After what's been transpiring lately in Tennessee, I do not have any confidence in this team, and I'm going to have to go with Jacksonville.
Give me the Jags.
So take them down off Gravediggers and put them in the playoff bracket.
I know. Ain't that some shit?
That's crazy, man. What a season. Sunday, we have the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. See, this one's tough. I think the Texans would win this game. But do they want to tank and get a worse draft pick?
Yeah, I don't know. That does. You have a valid point.
I would
there.
take the Texans as well.
You have a valid point, but I'm gonna go into this week because, like, look, you got the Vikings and Bears playing as well. I think, man,
the Bears could think that too. Those are the two worst records right now.
Yikes! You know what? I'm gonna act like we're not talking about tanking. I'm gonna take the Texans here. If they,
I'll do the same. I got Texans as well. Then AFC West, we have the Chargers at the Broncos. Now, I don't want to disrespect Denver. They do have a good defense. They played okay under that new coach. Russell Wilson is still not the answer. And I don't have confidence in Staley over there running the helm in L.A., but I do have the Chargers in this game, finishing out the season very strong, finding their groove at the right time.
Totally agree. I got the Chargers here. I just, Broncos might be playing, better after the firing of Nathaniel, but at the end of the day, Chargers are still the better team, and I expect them to pull this one off, and they want to go into the playoffs on a good note.
And if this goes the way I expect it to go, Broncos will put up a good fight, and it's going to be a good test for the Chargers. And for them to pull it out, I think that'll give them a little bit of confidence going into that week one of the playoffs.
For sure.
Panthers at the Saints. Panthers lost last week to the Bucks. Their playoff hopes are now eliminated. Saints, even after the victory against the Eagles, are also now eliminated. So not a lot to say about this one, but I will go with the Panthers against the Saints. Don't feel great about it.
I got the Saints.
Looks like you don't feel great about it either. Yeah. I picked the Saints all year and they let me down, so I'm going with the Panthers this time. Staying in the NFC South, we have the champs on the road at Atlanta facing the Falcons. I will take the Bucks, even though they have nothing to play for. I'm pretty sure in a situation like this, they'll probably sit some of their key guys. Falcons obviously looking to spoil some things, finish the season strong. Nothing too spoiled at this point. They did finish last week with the game in the field goal against Arizona. I feel like they're a team that's going to want to finish out on a high note with a rookie quarterback in there for the last month or so. But I do still have the Buccaneers winning this game.
For me, I think I'm interested to see how the Bucs play this game. If they play really well and make this like a tune-up game for the playoffs, I'll feel very confident. Not very confident, but I'll feel very comfortable, possibly picking them against the Cowboys in that first round.
Which is what they should do. They're in no position to be sitting guys. They need
I'm not.
But
now. I mean, if they come out, I didn't mean like if they're sitting guys. I just meant if they really come out and actually play well, like and treat it as a tune-up game and really find a rhythm and a groove in this game to lead them into the playoffs. I'll feel confident in picking them against the Cowboys. I think
next week's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
Patriots at the Bills. Patriots sit at the 7th seed right now. Win, and they're in. This is a tall task right here, though, to beat this Buffalo team on the road, Week 18, when the Bills are fighting for that number one spot. I'm going to have to go Buffalo.
Yeah, I think for me, I got to go Buffalo because I think you're going to find that some guys are playing with heart on the sleeves for their boy over there, and they're not going to go out on a losing note, especially when their guy went down like that. So they're going to get this win for Damar and make it a good ending to the season.
Jets at the Dolphins. Jets, with their loss last week, were eliminated from the playoffs. Dolphins, as we mentioned earlier, losers of 5 in a row and are now sitting at 9 in the AFC. Dolphins need to win this game, and they need a little bit of help from the Browns as well as the Bills to get into the playoffs. I do think they'll get the help from the Bills. I don't think they'll get the help from the Browns, which we can talk about in a little bit. But I do think they do help themselves, and they get this W against the Jets.
I agree. I got the Dolphins here. I've picked, I think, the last 3 weeks the Jets, and it's gone wrong. So I got to go Dolphins here.
Ravens at Bengals. Time TBD. Not sure why. I assume this is going to be a noon game on Sunday, but I really have no idea. I don't think it matters. Bengals are still fighting for the 1 seed. Ravens at this point have clinched. If I'm Baltimore, I'm sitting some of my key guys, and I'm taking Bengals with the W.
I got the Bengals here.
Bengals look like the best team right now.
They look really good, and it's hard to pick against them. So I got to go Joey B and the Bengals here, and I don't know. I hope the Ravens give them a run though. I hope you guys play them hard and play them well, and go into the playoffs on a good note, both sides.
I don't expect a lot of points from us, but I would like to see a hard-fought battle. If we can keep this thing like 24-16 or something like that, control the game, just lose because we're not talented enough, that'd be fine by me. But I don't want to see a 31-13 type game where we just didn't show up and got our asses handed to us. That's embarrassing. That's not how you want to go into the playoffs.
I agree.
Browns at Steelers. Tomlin, you did it. You dirty bastard. 9-8.
All-time great.
9-8. Sorry, Cleveland. Maybe Deshaun has this big game that you've been calling for a few weeks, but
I doubt it.
I don't think it's going to happen against this defense. Hell no.
No. Nah. If anything, I expected his big game to be Sunday, this past Sunday. Didn't happen. I mean, he had 3 touchdown passes, but I was expecting an all-around good game from him. I don't know what's going to take for him to find that form that he used to have, but it's going to take a lot, I think. And it's going to be a long off season for them.
Hell yeah.
Give me the Steelers here. Tomlin ends up going 9-8 this year and keeps that streak alive. And you know what? The dude is just an all-time great. He's a GOAT, and I really wish he was a coach for the Vikings. He was a defensive coordinator for us at one point, but that lasted 1 year until he took a head coaching job.
Man, we take him in Baltimore too, man. If there's any coach that I could play for, it's Mike T, man. No question. Giants on the road at the Cowboys. From what I've been hearing, the Giants are going to sit their guys after locking up the number 6 seed. If that's not the case,
the Eagles.
I'm sorry.
You said Giants at Cowboys or Giants at Eagles?
I don't even have the Eagles on my paper. It must be Giants Eagles since you corrected me. Okay. We have the Giants at the Eagles. That is right. And from what I heard, the Giants are sitting most of their starters, and that'll pretty much give the Eagles the number 1 seed. So if that's the case, I'm going Philly. If it wasn't the case, I think Philly would still find a way to lock up this number 1 seed, even after 2 disappointing weeks, losses to Dallas and New Orleans. But I think the Eagles are a really good team. They have a lot of good depth. They are dealing with some injuries right now, but I think the Eagles will go ahead and handle the Giants.
Yeah, for me, all roads lead through Philadelphia this playoff season. So give me the Eagles.
Does that mean Cowboys are home against Washington? Or is Washington at home?
Washington's at home.
So we have Cowboys on the road at Washington. Carson Wentz will probably start again because Ron Rivera doesn't know what he's doing. And the Cowboys will get out of here with the victory.
Easy Cowboys dub.
They still have a chance to get this number 1 seed if I'm not mistaken. If Philly does lose, 49ers lose, I think the Cowboys can get the number 1 seed if they beat the Washington Commanders. So they still have a lot on the line as well, but probably looking like they'll get that 5 seed. And I don't know what their plan is going into the week, but who knows if they'll play starters or not, or pull them, whatever the case may be. But Cowboys for sure. Cardinals on the road at the 49ers.
49ers easy.
Rams at the Seahawks. I got Seattle.
Seattle.
49ers fighting for the 1 seed. Seattle fighting for that 7 seed. I think both these teams are going to come with everything they have. Kitchen sink game, if you will. Throw everything at the opposing team. Try and solidify their spots in their respective divisions. Vikings
Agreed.
at the Bears. You said it off camera. Say it again.
The Bears are going to beat the Vikings.
Oh, I know you don't believe that.
No, Vikings are going to win this game.
I got the Vikings.
It comes down, for me, it comes down to, I just think the Bears are so one-dimensional that it gives the Vikings like the opportunity to have their biggest margin of victory this week.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't happen, like I'm going to be very upset. I mean, this should be at least a 14 to 17 point win for us based off record alone.
Every time we've said that, it's been 3-5.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. But here's the thing: like after this last loss against Green Bay, and the way Chicago's been playing, I don't trust the Vikings to do anything spectacular to stop Justin Fields. I think he's still going to have a big day. This is going to be probably a touchdown win for the Vikings. It's not going to leave a good taste in your mouth going into playoffs, and it's going to be leaving you saying, what the fuck is this type of bullshit that we're watching all year long? And you're going to still have that false hope going into playoffs like you always do with the Vikings, and it's going to be another heartbreaking ending for the Vikings in the playoffs. So, but give me the Vikings here. They end 13-4. A great record for a great season, but it was not that great of a season. It was still a letdown in my eyes. And yeah, so at least we went 13-4.
Hey, the 13-win playoff exit, the Peyton Manning special.
Exactly.
Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers, Sunday Night Football. Packers winning in. Lions, they need a W, and the Seahawks loss. This is for sure going to be the game of the week, in my opinion. A lot of implications on this one. I'm going to go with the Packers. They stay hot, and they sneak into that 7 seed.
Yeah, it pains me to say it. I got the Packers. I just think when you got Rodgers, you're playing at home, cold weather at Lambeau. Hey, but I do predict this game to be a dogfight.
Yeah, I do too. There's a lot that factors into it. Rodgers, the cold, being at home. Dan Campbell has made some bonehead decisions this year. I think Matt LaFleur has too, but he has 3 13-win seasons to show that he is a pretty good coach. They started slow. They figured this thing out. They're hot right now, but the Lions just put up 41. They're one of the best offenses in the league. This is going to be a really good game.
And I hope Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams shit on Jair Alexander and shut him up.
There's potential. They weren't talking that smack. You know, when guys talk smack, you have the extra motivation.
You know, I will say this about that is a very ballsy move when it's still in the first quarter to stop a pass and break up a pass and gritty right away on JJ. Like, to me, in my eyes, he's not that good to do that. And I think they're going to still have some matchups down the road. And JJ will get the best of him at some point, and we'll see it. It'll happen, and he'll be shutting up again. And you know what? But you know what? I think Jair's just got a lot of pent up emotions because everyone's been shitting on him all year.
He's had a bad year. He's coming off injury, but he typically is a top 6, 7, 8 corner. He's a good corner.
You know, he has been, and I just think, you know, when I watch his interviews, he's got this fucking smug look on his face that's just like a cocky motherfucker. And to me, you better be a lot better than what you are being that cocky.
He's an all-pro DB.
All-pro, but you know what? Guess what though? Guess what though? I'm not even gonna say it. I'll keep that off.
Keep it on record.
I just don't like Jair Alexander, and you know, call me butthurt if you will, but nah. But I think the better team won on Sunday. The Packers, they're definitely better coached. I'll say that than us, and it showed.
Experience is a motherfucker, man. It matters a lot. People don't talk about it a lot, but it matters a lot. I'm good on week 18 if you want to get the Gravediggers with a twist this week.
With a twist, yeah. Let me pull my thing up here, but yeah, let's get into it.
So we know we've been eliminating teams that we think are out of playoff contention. At this point, it's week 18. There's a couple of great games on the slate this week, and there's still a couple of teams that have a chance to get into the playoffs. Can you give me one team out of each conference that you think will clinch up that 7th seed this week? In the AFC, I think our contenders are New England and Miami and Pittsburgh. In the NFC, it's Seattle, Green Bay, Detroit, correct?
Yes. So Seattle, give me AFC ones again. I didn't hear what you said.
New England, Miami, Pittsburgh.
New England, Miami, Pittsburgh. Here's what I got for you. On the AFC side, I am going to predict that somehow Mike Tomlin finds a way into the 7th seed. NFC side, he's a bad man. Title town, bro. I'll give you the Packers to get to the playoffs again, and another reason why their fans will never shut up. So there you have it. That's the 7th seed in both conferences for me. What do we have over here? We had Houston eliminated off Gravediggers, which they are. Vegas got that right. Chicago got that right. Didn't get Detroit right unless they lose, or they lose, or they win and Seattle wins, right?
Yep.
Green Bay, we probably didn't get that right. That was on me, like back in week 4.
We did that one early. I was like week 8.
We got the Rams. Got Carolina, Indy, Washington, Arizona. Didn't get Jacksonville right.
Give me a break. Tennessee really let me down on that one.
Pittsburgh's up there, which we probably didn't get right. I'm going to have them in there.
Yeah, that's on me.
Got Cleveland, got Denver, New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tennessee. So, I mean, I think we did pretty damn good. So
it's not too bad.
You know, it goes to show that we do know a little something about the game of football here in the NFL. So, no, but you know, I think when we start getting into these playoff episodes, bro, we're gonna have a lot to talk about each game. I just think it's gonna be. You thought you dissected some shit in science class? Wait till we get into these games.
These are just like gloss overs. I would love to get deep into a game and break down a possession or anything like that, but
so it's going to be some
to do with the time allocated.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be some. I mean, and that's the beauty thing about playoffs and these episodes coming up is there's only so many games compared to a whole league full of games. Like we got 7 teams each side, and so we get 2 Saturday or. How does that work? Because I think they have a Monday night playoff game now.
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, they have a Monday night playoff game now.
Okay, that'll be kind of bogus, I think, but we'll see.
So, I mean,
kind of bogus too.
Yeah, I think I don't know how it works out. I think it's 2 Saturday. I don't know how it works. I don't know the setup. I don't know the schedule, but I know there's a Monday night game. You're going to have some on Saturday and Sunday, but man, what a season it's been. I'll say that. I don't know. I did predict it was going to be one of the crazier seasons we've had in some time. It kind of played out that way in my eyes, but
not the way we thought, but it did in a way.
Yeah. I mean, you got a team who went 11-0 in one-score games. That never happens. So, I don't know, bro. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Interesting. I'm good as well.
I
I can't wait to see what the final playoff seedings look like Monday.
Monday morning is gonna be like Christmas, man.
Yeah, so we'll can't wait to get to that and start the playoff week right.
Monday morning is gonna be like Christmas. Monday night. Start our scouting on these college football games. TCU, Georgia National Championship.
Man.
Get right into the offseason after playoffs done with this mock draft and all that shit, man.
Yep.
Not a lot of time in between, but it should be fun. But like I said, though, I'm good. we can get out of here before this video cuts off again. That'd be terrible.
Sounds good. We made good time.
Yeah, we did. 2-1. Hopefully the last time we'll be doing that for quite some time, but this weather was bad out here. There's a lot of accidents and whatnot, but hopefully y'all stay safe today. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Peace.